But this was an interesting question, and I get this a lot. And it's how do I help? Again, this is from an unfaithful husband, betrayed wife. And he says, how do I help her heal when I'm doing everything I can? Now, I do know that this person is fairly new to the community. He is taking the online courses and he has finished watching Helping Her Heal, and I believe is starting with the other courses. So in the beginning, right, when we're first when the unfaithful partners are first really trying to understand everything, they usually say this, right? I'm doing everything I can. Why is nothing working? So I want to address that word, everything, because that's a key word in this. First of all, you're not doing everything. Nobody is doing everything. That's a big word, right? So we really have to break it down. And what I would do with somebody like this, if I was talking one-to-one, is ask very specific questions like, okay, you're doing everything you can. Thank you. I love that. I appreciate that. But now tell me what that means. Tell me what exactly you're doing that is under this umbrella word of everything. Okay. So usually what I'll hear back is, well, you know what? I mean, I'm not going out. My partner has access to all my devices. I don't travel as much. I'm trying to communicate better, right? They start listing all of these things. And as much as I'd love to hear that, because all of those are really good things, okay, I'm not discounting those at all. None of those address trauma. And the betrayed partners are experiencing betrayal trauma. So what those things are doing, what they describe as everything, are usually what I call the bare minimum of a healthy relationship. Right? Because if you really think about a husband and a wife or a couple that's committed to each other, those are kind of the bare minimum, right? No secrets, meaning transparency, not creating excuses to be outside of the house, wanting to be home, communicating, right? Listening, active listening, having good, healthy dialogue. So all of those everythings that the unfaithful partner lists for me are really the bare minimum of a healthy relationship. So relationship repair is different than helping somebody who's in a trauma state. So a lot of times when the unfaithful partner says, how do I help? I'm doing everything I can. They're kind of stuck on the relationship repair side of things because none of those things help somebody feel they do, but I'm going to explain that a little bit differently. But none of those help them heal the trauma. Some of those will help them feel safer. And that's the word I was going to use when I kind of stopped myself. Some of those will help the betrayed partners feel safer. But again, they're the bare minimum that should have been in place all along. I think back to my marriage with my husband, and we talked about kids and bills and the dishwasher broke and the washing machine is rocking because I overfilled it or whatever, right? That's communication, but that's not intimate conversations. So when we talk about doing everything, I want you to think about, if this applies to you, I want you to think about what kind of conversations are you actually having? Are they those, surface conversations, make sure the kids get where they need to go, who's doing the shopping, who's cooking on Saturday? Those are just the bare minimums, right? We want to help people get to the point where they're having actual intimate conversations, not just communicating about day-to-day things. So again, difference between relationship repair, getting out of the mindset that the bare minimum is all it's going to take, and kind of crossing the bridge into how do you actually help somebody come out of a trauma state? So I hope you can kind of see that there's two different, one is a little deeper than the other. So all of those everythings are good, but they're not deep enough to help somebody who's experiencing trauma. And remember, I don't think I need to say this anymore at this point, but I always do. Betrayal, trauma is very, very real. All of those symptoms, the PTSD, it's all very, very real. So to help somebody who's in a trauma state, first of all, we have to understand that they're not crazy. Now, I'm the first one to admit that during that 3 years of trickle truth that my husband put me through, I looked insane. I looked crazy. I turned into somebody I didn't even recognize. I would scream and yell, and I think back and I just go, holy cow, that wasn't me. I'm not a yeller. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a screamer. But this traumatic information that was thrown at me turned me into somebody that I didn't even recognize, let alone my husband. My husband remembered me as this, pretty easygoing person. And now all of a sudden, after this betrayal was discovered, he saw a side of me that he didn't know existed either. Now, rather than leaning into that, he called me crazy, said I needed medication, said I needed to go to some island and do God only knows what to fix myself, because I was the one stopping us from having this beautiful life. We're not crazy. Betrayed partners are not crazy. It's the nervous system. So how do I help her heal when I'm doing everything I can? Again, let's stop thinking about it from a relationship perspective and start looking at it as your partner has been traumatized. And we have to approach this from a very empathetic perspective, that they're experiencing a trauma. Remember, their past has changed. It's blown up. Their future, they have no idea what's going on in their future. That's very traumatic to the brain and to the nervous system. So in order to help the betrayed partner, you have to do your work to become as safe as you possibly can. Here's that word safe again. I said I was going to come back to. Your role, in essence, is not to help her heal. Your role, in essence, is to stop causing further damage and then start creating a new version of you that could never do those things ever again.